So I just want to start by having you meet Chubbs, who's a patient of mine. He's a 4-year-old fantail goldfish, and he has had intermittent buoyancy issues for over a year. And the owner, of course, waits to the very last second and brings it to you when it's been constant for now a couple months, and the fish can't get. It's always positively buoyant. It's never neutrally or negatively buoyant. Always positive. And they've tried the whole feeding the green pea thing. They've tried various medications in the water, and usually if you guys practice fish medicine, you know when by the time you get there, they've done a million things. And it's the only fish in a 20-gallon tank, and surprisingly, they actually do water changes, and the water quality isn't horrible. And I want you to meet Todd. He's a 5-year-old, quote-unquote, Blackmore, who's actually white, and lives with several other fancy goldfish in an overstocked 29-gallon aquarium. And he's had progressive negative buoyancy over several months. So those guys are in practice probably pretty commonly. This is probably one of the most common things that I'll see is buoyancy disorder in goldfish. And so I wanted to introduce you to those two cases that I'll be talking about kind of throughout the lecture. But my question to you, if you're presenting with these cases, rather than just saying that the fish has swim bladder disease or really what is more appropriately termed buoyancy disorder, can you answer these important physiologic and anatomical questions? How does a swim bladder fill with gas? How is it removed from the swim bladder? Do you understand the anatomy? If you needed to perform a procedure, if you needed to aspirate the swim bladder or even perform surgery on the swim bladder, do you understand the anatomy of the swim bladder? And how does the swim bladder anatomy and physiology vary with different species? If you can answer these questions, it will undoubtedly help you when you're managing frustrating buoyancy disorder cases. If you can't, you're probably in the wrong lecture. I'm sorry, I can't help you with these things. Although my wife does call me the gas king, I'm not a physiologist, and I'm probably underqualified to give this lecture, but no one else wanted to give it. So if you're the organizer of a conference and no one else wants to give a lecture, then you have to do it. So hopefully I can give you guys some interesting information on swim bladder anatomy and physiology and try to keep it as relevant as I can clinically. So this was Chubbs, who is the positively buoyant goldfish, and you can really appreciate the severe distension of the caudal swim bladder chamber here. And actually the overlying body wall is even atrophied from such severe chronic overdistension. And this was that negatively buoyant fish, Todd, that I showed you, and you can see an underinflation of the cranial swim bladder chamber and then a very almost absent or underinflated caudal chamber. So the swim bladder is also called the gas or air bladder, and it's a gas-filled organ typically located in the dorsal coelomic cavity. There'll be a talk later on sygnathids and how they're more located in the anterior chamber. Depending on the type of fish, it's either somewhere between 4 to 8% of the body volume, and it develops embryologically from an outpocketing of the GI tract. And the main function of swim bladders, as you guys well know, is maintaining neutral buoyancy, but there are a lot of other functions that we're going to talk about a little bit later as far as respiration, sound production, and perception of pressure fluctuations, including especially sound. It could be 1, 2, or 3 chambered, usually 1 or 2, single in salmonids and most ornamentals, but double chambered in Cyprinidae. And about half of teleost fish have a swim bladder, and it'd be absent in certain benthic fishes, deep sea fishes, although some deep sea fishes even have adaptations where they fill it with a lipid, like the coelacanth. And then fishes that constantly swim and change their depth a lot. Obviously, having a swim bladder is going to be too much work for them if they're changing the volume constantly. And that would be fish like tuna. And then those of you guys that work with elasmobranchs will know that they do not have a swim bladder, but they have other mechanisms to help with aid in buoyancy, like a cartilaginous skeleton, constant swimming resulting in upward lift, large livers with high levels of low-density lipids, including squalene.